So, Emily, in what character trait did you find the persona of Patty, and how was that trait the key to her being ready to transition into a music girlfriend?
Oh, wow. That's an amazing question. I think one of my favorite things about Patty is she's so open. It's kind of part of what makes her a little gullible, but also what makes her um, beautiful and and receptive to someone like Simon, who, like the rest of society in the Dinner in America bubble, isn't really receptive to. I think Patty kind of keys in on something early because she's open to who he is, and um, yeah, she's very similar to me in a lot of ways, and yeah, and kind of at first, the first half of the movie, Patty's kind of made fun of and isn't really recognized for her value, and then the second half of the movie, she really becomes a winner. And in making the movie, I kind of fell back in love with myself and those parts of my personality traits that I thought, maybe weren't cool or acceptable in society. Now I really embrace as being beautiful, just like Patty does at the end.
That's great. So, Kyle, how did you find the right energy for Simon, who had a ton of layers and secrets, but basically was an outsider in every environment he encountered?
A lot of Simon was really on the page. Adam did such a great job of creating these very clear and thought out characters. So I had an amazing jumping off point with the script, and then from there it was just sort of about fine tuning, the right energy and just kind of finding who he was and feeling him out from the way he walks and the way he talks and the way he handles
Right.
himself and just constantly pushing it further and further. And I grew up listening to punk and hardcore music. I grew
Right.
up going to like hardcore and metal shows, and so it's a world I'm familiar with. Simon is a guy that I've known a few Simons. Uh, um, minus like the super aggro attitude. There's kind of a lot of him already instilled in who I am as well. So it was really just from pulling from a lot of different things. And
Cool.
then um, Adam really just letting us play and letting it rip and pushing us to push it further and further until we were at the right level of 11, and
Yeah.
keeping us there in a way that didn't go over the top, but also didn't feel safe. These
Interesting.
characters definitely operate in an elevated place in an elevated world.
That's so
So it was really
awesome.
a lot of collaboration and a lot of trust between, me, Emily, and Adam as well.
Yeah. So, Emily, Patty started as an awkward and unfocused outlier, coming alive only through her hidden music love. As the character loosened up through her relationship with Simon, what did you and Adam want in the way she presented herself that would indicate that change?
I always kind of describe Watermelon as like ASMR punk. Like it sneaks up on you, it's quiet. And I think that's kind of part of what we wanted from Patty. Simon sees something in her, obviously, because he discovers the letters, but I don't even think she knows what she's capable of until she's put in that position by Simon. And um, so, yeah, the song, like when we first recorded the song, I was like singing a little louder and maybe like more impressively, perhaps, belting a little harder. And Adam pulled me back and was like, no, it's quieter. This is like her first time singing, basically. And I guess like through doing that experience, I've really come to appreciate, like, there's a strength in quietness. There's a strength um, in just doing the minimum and letting kind of the heart and soul shine through. So yeah, but what's crazy is we had 2 weeks of rehearsal for this before we started shooting, which is pretty unheard of. But
Right.
on the first and second day, we did the music. So Kyle recorded all of the vocals for the psyop stuff, and Adam and I wrote the watermelon song and recorded it on the second day.
Wow.
And that was before we even really got to know each other, and before we even really dove into the complexities of the characters. It wasn't until we finished the music that we started rehearsing. So I just think about all the time, like what could happen now that we have these characters so deeply in our bodies and in our hearts. If Adam and I sat down and wrote another song, it would probably be pretty crazy.
So Kyle Simon had his allies, the convenience store clerk, his drug wholesaler, his brother. What do you,
Yeah.
what do you, what do you think those guys admired about him that solidified their loyalty and made him almost heroic to them?
I mean, I think Simon likes who he likes. I think um I don't think Simon suffers fools. I think he probably doesn't waste his time with people that he doesn't want to spend time with. I mean, I think a perfect example of it is with Emily's brother when he sees something in him, and you see this moment of Simon actually trying to help this kid.
Right.
I don't think I mean, look, I don't think Simon's a great person, a great guy. You know what I mean? He's definitely got his flaws, but I also think deep down, I think Simon definitely operates under his own moral code, and he operates in his own way and in the way that he sees fit, and he stands by his convictions. And good, bad, or ugly, he at least has a stance, and he at least kind of believes in the things he believes in and fights for the things that he fights for. And yeah, he's abrasive about it, and yeah, he probably pushes a lot of people away, but I don't necessarily know if that bothers him. And I think he's probably a pretty good judge of character in a lot of ways. I mean,
Right.
in the beginning of the movie, he clocks that family right away. And I mean, he literally lights their lawn on fire. He sees something in Patty that he is instantly, well, not instantly drawn to, but once he figures it all out, he's drawn to the magic that Patty has. He sees something in her brother and is like, "You're not a bad fucking kid."
Right.
You know what I mean? But you need to get it together. And he helps him in his own way, which is very fucking left of center, basically telling him you need to smoke weed every day, but he's helping him in his own way.
Right. That's
I think for both of these characters, it's authenticity is like a value that they
Yeah.
really uphold, um, which I think is just such a beautiful message to put forth.
yep.
And I think that's really what they see in each other too. And I think that's
Yeah.
what I love. And that's really what I love about the movie is by the end of the film, it's not a movie of like, hey, let's take these two misfits and fix them.
Mm.
Let's change them into
Right.
something that's
Right.
better for society. It's like, nope, Simon's allowed to be Simon, Patty's allowed to be Patty,
Right.
and they love that about each other.
This is Patrick McDonald for HollywoodChicago.com. Copyright 2025.